Hello divas, dudes, and dolls, I'm Cara Couture, and welcome back to my placid plastic pluck simulator of a review show, Very Slay, where I go over my thoughts and opinions on each and every one of the main stage runway looks from RuPaul's Drag Race Season 16. Apologies in advance for not really being in like a full beat today. The next 3 videos I've got coming out, I will not be in a full beat, I will just be like this, so get used to it. You're getting a little more like normal Cara without the H today. My skin needs a little bit more of a break because I have been in drag. It is Monday as I'm filming this. This weekend was the first time I had been like out of drag for a good period of time. Outside of that, I had been in drag every single day from like the 27th or 28th of January until the 9th of February, outside of one day. So my skin was screaming and it hated me very much. I've just been like working myself to the bone. I just needed a couple of days to relax and recover because when it comes to performing, I am not a bucker. I'm not a dancer. I am not a mover, shaker, candlestick maker, if you will. I am very much a park and bark girl. And then my goofy ass thought it would be fun to do 2 dance numbers as part of my pageant step down package. So I woke up feeling it very much so, very intensely. Technically I still am, especially in like my lower back, but oh well. That's what you get when you don't have a proper exercise routine. The goal this week is to just kind of get caught back up on the schedule for things because the pageant shot me back behind because I was so wiped out from it. It was a long and very stressful day. But I'm determined to get back on track, stay on top of things, and hopefully not die from the number of ball episodes we have coming in the next week that I'm very much looking forward to going through and editing because they take about 4 times as long as everything else. Yay! But anyways, today we're here to talk about the runway looks from season 16's latest episode. This week's episode was both a design and a branding challenge. They had to create a doll version of themselves, sell it with a cute little script on the runway in their presentation, and then they had to create matching looks both for themselves and their little doll versions to present on the main stage. I thought this was a really cute idea for an episode, very sugar and spice energy. For those who are new here who don't know the format, if I think a look is just fine, middle of the road, we give it an okay. If I love a look, we give it a slay. And if I don't and can't stand it for whatever reason, we give it a nay. And with all of that business taken care of, why don't we go ahead and get into these looks, shall we? First up on this runway, it's Zunami Muse. This outfit to me is not my favorite. I do really like the bell bottom. It's a really great proportion for her body type and with how long and slender she is. I think it flatters her frame really well. I love that she wears pants on the runway as often as she does. My biggest issue with this is that it looks like a really cheap version of the look that she wore in episode 3 when the group 1 girls came back into the room, and it's still this sort of like kind of aerial color palette. But I think the first time she did that was significantly more successful than this. Like, it's cute, it looks like it's well made, but it's also really nothing to write home about. I don't really think that it makes a lasting impression on the runway, so overall for me, I'm just gonna give her an okay this week. Up next is Safia Crystal. I like what she made for the doll significantly better than what she made for herself. It was giving mother of the bride, a little matronly, but like the mother of the bride that's trying to show up the bride marrying her son. I think the sheer treatment on the legs is a good idea over this base dress. I think it is a very classic silhouette, but I don't think it's been updated in any interesting way. So to me, this is a very middle of the road look as well. I'm also gonna give this an okay. Up next is Plasma. I really appreciated the point of view that she went with this. It wasn't just like a gown look, it wasn't a fashion look, it was this sort of jet set traveler moment, which I thought was a very cute angle to take. I think the biggest detriment to her on the runway was her head wrap consistently falling off of her head and her trying to put it back on. It made it really distracting. But even then, when you get into the base garment itself, outside of the color palette and how the head wrap with this hairstyle really works with Plasma's drag aesthetic, it's really not that impressive either. It's a very simple, very basic dress. My problem with Plasma last time there was a design challenge was that her looks weren't fit very well to her body. It was like she didn't really know what proportions or what styles work best on her. And I think that still runs true here. This is better fit than her gown from the ball episode, but I don't think it is that much better. So for me, this is gonna be an A. Love the colors though. Next up is Plain Jane. I loved this. I thought this color was great on her. Outside of her Cher look, this is my favorite look she's worn so far. I think there's really nothing wrong with this. There is some intricacy in the way this is structured. This is a significant improvement to the last look she designed. I think this really shows that she does know how to design and she does know how to sew and construct a garment, which good for her. Love to see that. I really like this little ruffle peplum moment that she's got going along the bodysuit, and it gives it that extra little level of oomph that it really needs to take it there. So for me, this was a really great showing from her. I'm gonna give her a slay. Up next is Nymphia Wind. Now, everybody I see on Twitter says that she deserved to be in the top. I don't think she did. I think being safe is perfectly fine for her. She's a very high safe, but I don't think she was among the best this week. And that's predominantly because she didn't match the doll. I think her look on the doll is a better look than the look she wore on the runway. I do really like the use of pink as an accent color on the giant bow, as well as in the makeup. My other problem with it is that I think the bow is like, I can't believe I'm saying this about a drag queen, but I think the bow is too big. I think had it been scaled down just a smidge, it would have balanced out the proportions of the whole look a little bit better, because even on the doll, it's still really large, but I don't think it is quite as large proportionally. So for me, the bow is what really brings this look down. Other than that, I think it is really good though, so I'm still gonna give it a slay. Up next is Morphine Love Dion. For me, this wasn't my fave. I genuinely think this is my least favorite thing she's worn so far in the competition. I love this color palette on her. I love the cut of this. It is very much giving Miami. It's giving resort wear. The print looks really nice on her. Her skin looks great. Her glittery makeup is gorgeous. I feel like it's similar to things we've seen from her at this point. It's very on brand for her, which is part of the challenge, so she did good in that regard. But I think what I really can't stand about this is this like extra fabric she's carrying around behind her. Quite literally just like extra fabric. Like it's not an intentional garment piece. She really took just a sheet of fabric and attached it to each of her wrists and said, oh, look at me, I've got movement. It's effective as a selling point in motion on the runway. But outside of that, it is like, there's no real thought to that. It's just like, I think had she done the two on the wrist and then had it attached to it, so it was like two individual separate pieces of fabric that just added just that level of movement when she walked, I ultimately think it would have benefited the full design. For me, this is just okay. Up next is My Am on the Page. Honestly, there's not a lot I can say that's positive about this other than the color looks great on her. It's giving very 80s jazzercise, which I do think is quite fun. I wish she would have had leg warmers, and I wish she would have gone like full flash dance with this. The shawl sleeve cape cover up thingy that's on the doll, it only goes to the elbow, but on Maya it goes all the way down and totally covers her arms. It honestly looks like she took two of what Morphine was using as like this extra cape situation and just like attached it over her arms like she's carrying two picnic blankets around. I just called it a day, and it really swallows her. I do appreciate that it does look like she tried to kind of take it into a proper cape sleeve direction, but she did not execute it very well. So it just really, this is a big miss for me, and this is unfortunately another nay that I'm gonna be giving Miss Maya. Up next is Megami. I love this. I love this so much. This is made so well. It's fitted incredibly well to her body. I just wish that it was maybe broken up with a couple different fabric choices so that we could really appreciate the level of construction and design that goes in it. Because on the runway, since it's all this blue sequin, it just kind of all reads as the same. Had she done something that was like maybe lined with an orange, or you know, maybe made the belt in an orange just to like break up some of the shape, it would have done her a world of help. Or I think it would have really benefited the look, but at the same time, I really like it as is. The way the fabric is draped that's on her left hip, I think it ultimately goes around and creates this sort of like blazer silhouette with the way the shoulder is treated on that same side, which I really like because it gives working woman. I really like the way that fabric treatment is done because it wraps around in a really elegant way and then forms this little cascading piece on the back on the right shoulder. I think it needed that. I think it needed that level of movement. It needed that little bit of extra something that really helps sell it on the runway in motion. The orange detailing and accents, really well placed. I love that she has the little orange headpiece. It's very Statue of Liberty. And then on top of that, she's like, all of the accents and accessories are orange. So we love a complementary color palette. I'm a little biased towards blue and orange because that was the color palette of my first drag outfit. But ultimately, I think this is a really strong look for her. I'm giving her a slay. Up next is Geneva Carr. The only thing I have nice to say about this is that I like the color palette on her. Her biggest problem, though, is that the outfit on the doll is more interesting than the outfit that is on her. The huge exaggerated collar moment that the doll has, I would have loved for her to have that too. And she's got the exaggeration, but it's not taken far enough. And it really does look like an afterthought of a design in a lot of ways. The skirt does not come together all that well. I think the girl did her best. It's just, oh, it is not good. It is not good at all. Like, designing clothes is definitely not her strong suit. She seems like such a sweet queen, and I like her personality a lot. But by golly, this was not great in my opinion. So I'm giving this an A. Up next, it's Dawn. This look, I love. Anybody who knows me knows that if I get going on a tangent about one of my favorite movies of all time, I won't stop. So I'm gonna try and reel it in a little bit for the sake of time here. Dawn's look immediately gives me Vegas in Space, this like really cult classic drag film. If you haven't seen it, definitely look it up. Go give it a watch. It's all drag performers who were really active in the San Francisco scene in the 1980s or so, I believe. And it is a horrible movie, but they didn't intend to make a great movie from the outset. They just wanted to make a film, and it's honestly quite impressive because only like 2 people made all of the costumes for it. All of like the miniatures for sets were done out of like cosmetic products and shampoo bottles, which I think is very campy. And I'm pretty sure that all of the interior shots of the film were done in one singular apartment. They just redecorated everything to create a completely different environment for whenever the scene called for it. It's really quite impressive how much they get out of this film for such a small budget and for such small resources. I think it is a true testament to the level of innovation that often comes hand in hand with drag as an art form. So I think it is a must-watch 1,000 times over. Honestly, I kind of want to do a sort of like long form video essay documentary sort of thing about the making of that film because there's not a lot of folks who are still around from it. I would love to like really do a deep dive into this film and like put more eyes on it as much as I can because it is, if you're a fan of drag and you're a fan of looks in particular, and I know if I keep going, I won't shut up about it. Dawn's look gives me Vegas in Space. It is very sci-fi. I love this kind of blue-purple corset treatment. But I think this is an incredibly successful look. My biggest problem with it is I don't like the skirt part of it. I'm not a big fan of the bottom half of the skirt. I think it is just really, really plain, but the fabric looks great in the light. And overall, I think this is one of my favorite looks that Dawn's presented so far in the competition. So I'm giving her a slay. Last but not least, it's Q. And I mean, come on. Like, this is now the second design challenge I've talked about within a week's time where they put the best one at the very end because they know it's the best one. I think this just really goes to show the level of skill that Q has as a designer and as a seamstress, because if you put her look and how complicated it is and put it next to some of these simpler ones that don't really have a huge amount of design going on, and the fact that they had the same amount of time to do all of this is so impressive. I love this headpiece. I love the color treatment of this. This copper color looks incredible on stage and incredible on her. I don't know where she pulled this fabric from. I don't know where she got the idea for this, but Jesus Christ, this is immaculate, top to bottom, just incredible work. I love every part of this. Just the silhouette is great. The way the fabric on the hips moves and is draped is perfect. The little kind of wiry fairy wings that she's since gone and updated, I think are the weakest part of the look in the original presentation. She's one of the few that just had like a full concept and ran all the way to the bank with it. Nobody else this week came even close to this for me. So obviously I'm giving this a slay. I'd be a fool to give it anything less. And that wraps up this week's review of Drag Race Season 16, and it's now time to give out our very obvious Slay of the Day, my favorite look of the week that will be going into a post-crowning ranking video to determine my Slay of the Season, my favorite look across every episode of the Season 16, which I will then be doing a full proper illustration of. Of course, this week we're adding yet another look from Q into that lineup. How could I not? Well, you all should have seen this coming from a mile away. I don't think we've seen very many people on Drag Race who can construct things this fast at the level that she does. And I'm so glad she finally got her very, very well-deserved win this week. So we still only have 3 people in this countdown video so far. I'm hoping that a few others join them, but we'll just have to wait and see. That's going to be it for me this episode. If you enjoyed the content, be sure as always to like, comment, subscribe, watch as much of it as you can, catch up on other episodes, get excited for all the other seasons of Very Slay that are coming down the pipeline. If you really want to help rack up the watch hours, which we are at over 500 now, so we are a 1/6 of the way to the metrics for that, which is incredible. Thank you so much. But if you really want to help out in that regard, you can go over and watch my Persona 3 Reload playthrough. Each video is roughly 2 hours long, and literally just like putting it on in the background, low volume, and just letting it go, just letting it run. Heck, turn on the playlist, put on episode 1, turn the volume down, and just let that sucker run all night long. It will help so much. The sooner we can get the channel monetized, the sooner I can get into a position to afford an editor to help out with some of this workload, because editing all of these videos that are the exact same structure every single day basically is a lot. And having some help with that would be nice, and I would like to be able to compensate them for their time. It's quite literally a free way to help out the channel and help me out as a creator immensely, because it will help get us closer and closer and closer to that point with every hour that we rack up. We've gotten over 200 hours within just the last month, so hopefully we can stay on that momentum and we can just keep growing and growing and growing with each and every new week. So before I go off to film my second of 3 videos today in this one sitting, I just want to make sure that you all go out there, stay kind, stay queer, and make sure that your day is very slay.